everyone, and welcome to all of our audience. Today we have Antonia as our guest, and she went to Australia as a work and traveler. We are very curious to hear about her personal experiences abroad. Thank you, Antonia, for being with us today. We are happy to have you. How are you?
Thank you, Anna. I am fine and really glad to join you today.
I'm very much looking forward to hear your stories that you wish to share with us. And maybe you even have some tips and tricks for those of our audience who are planning to go abroad.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it.
So let's start with the cultural aspects. What do you like about the Aussie lifestyle, and what do you think are the main differences to your home culture, which is German?
First of all, I love that they are all so helpful. It is really striking that most people are so friendly and open-minded. I was walking on the streets of Sydney with a map in my hand, for example, and I actually knew the way to the Sydney Opera House, but I was taking my time. And there was directly a woman coming to ask me if I needed help. And this is just one of many examples.
Ah, that sounds like you felt welcome right away.
Yes, and then, of course, I adore their easygoing lifestyle. It is really not just a cliche. Aussies are so relaxed in nearly every situation you can think of. For us Germans, it is sometimes even a bit stressful as we are used to strict routes and times. If you want to meet an Australian, you should be prepared that he comes an hour later. He'll say probably, "No worries, mate," because that's just how they are.
Ah, that's interesting. So, would you say that your attitude has changed during this time?
Yes, I'm definitely more relaxed.
I think that's a great example of cultural exchange and how we may learn from each other. So tell us a bit about what kind of jobs you had during your trip.
I actually just had one job. I worked at a horse farm, sorry, close to Melbourne. But when I say close to Melbourne, that's 2 hours away from it. So there was literally nothing around there than the farm, red dirt, and heat.
So that sounds like there are very long distances in Australia.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but I worked in a very cool team of Australians. I got to know them and their culture there really well. So even though work was exhausting, it was an enriching experience.
Ah, so you speak of an enriching experience. So do you think it was also important for your personal development?
Yes, I developed my personality during my stay. You know, you have to imagine this was my first trip abroad all by myself, so I had much time to think about me and my further path in life.
That's great. And where did you stay? Did you sleep with the horses?
Not really, but during foaling season, I had to check on the mare several times during night, and it happened every now and then that I was sleeping next to them for a few hours. But usually I stayed at a very nice family. They were the owners of the farm. Um, they had one little child, which I was babysitting as well sometimes, so I was really part of the family.
Ah, that's great. So that means you got the chance to experience family life and you had diverse tasks from farm work to childcare. That's just awesome. Did you also have free time? So maybe you can tell us a bit about how you spend your free time, and could you also relax a bit from the exhausting work at the farm during weekend trips, for example?
Yes, whenever I wanted, I could take some days or even a week off. And of course, I used that time and made several shorter trips, for example, to Uluru or Ayers Rock, how some call them, in the center of the country, or the Great Ocean Road, for example.
Ah, I have heard of Mount Uluru. So what did it feel like to be in front of this huge rock?
Uluru was amazing. I've never seen such an stunning sunrise in the desert. Uluru is a big rock in the Australian desert, and when the sun is not shining, it looks just like a grey rock. But once the sunlight hits the rock, it suddenly starts to glow in a reddish tone. It was fascinating.
Oh, wow. I can really imagine a great atmosphere during the sunrise. So, would you also like to tell us a bit about your other trips?
Yes, with a friend of mine that I met in Australia, I did a road trip along the Great Ocean Road, which is a 240-kilometer long road along the south coast, close to Melbourne. There are koalas, kangaroos, rainforests, and some really cool cliffs. So the most famous ones are the 12 apostles, which are 12 rock stacks in the sea along the coast. They're very famous. You've probably seen a picture of them. It's definitely breathtaking.
Ah, that's interesting also to experience all these typically Australian animals within their natural habitat. If I understood you right, the trips you just talked about were during the time you worked at the farm. And after you finished working at the farm, you traveled around Australia and made some bit longer trips. Would you also like to tell us a bit about this time?
Yes, my real travel began after my time at the farm. You're right, Anna. Um, I traveled up the east coast, from Melbourne to Cairns. So for that, I bought a car to sleep in. I called it Bernie, and found my travel mate, Pia. She is actually still a very good friend of mine.
Ah, how lovely. It seems you really made friends for life. Was it actually easy to find a travel mate for you?
For me, it was easy, because travelers in hostels are very open-minded and, most of the times have the same travel route as you do.
Ah, that's great. So, how did you prepare your stay abroad?
That's a good question. I had some difficulties at the beginning because there's so much to think of. Then I made a to-do list and found some information on a blog, which really saved me. And now I am even giving free webinars where I provide future travelers with useful tips for their preparation. I wish I would have had the chance when I was preparing. It would have saved me some time for sure.
Oh, that's nice of you to share your tips. You just talked about the challenges you had before you started your trip. What kind of challenges did you meet during your time abroad? Is there a situation that was especially difficult or very new to you?
Of course, there were challenges and almost everything was new. The hardest challenge, I guess, was selling my car at the end of my trip. It was not easy to find a buyer because everyone was ending their trip in Cairns, where it was still warm at that time. And down in the south, the weather was very freezing, so no one wanted to drive down there. But hey, it worked out, so every challenge also had a good outcome.
Ah, that's great. It turned out to be a positive end of your adventure. And looking back at all your experiences, would you do it again?
Yes, I would definitely do it again. Maybe I would now try out a different country, but only because there's so much to see in the world. Australia was absolutely fantastic.
So it seems the travel bug really hit you. What are your recommendations for young people who plan to go to Australia?
I would recommend going to Melbourne because Melbourne has stunning street art and all these urban people. Also, St Kilda as a suburb on the sea, which is more relaxing. I guess I just love the mixture.
It seems you had such a fantastic time abroad. What would you say is your overall best experience?
I guess there was skydiving above the Great Barrier Reef at the end of my trip. Jumping out of the plane and then suddenly seeing a huge reef below you was just unforgettable.
That really sounds stunning, and how brave of you to just jump out of the plane. You spoke about your to-do list before and about the webinars that you offer, and I'm very sure some of our audience would like to join your webinars or tutorials. And how can they get further information?
I am offering the webinars within my practical training at CareMed. So that's why they can apply via CareMed's website if they want to. So I'm happy to share the link with you.
Thank you so much, Antonia. And just one more question. What are your future travel plans?
Well, traveling will definitely be part of my life. At the moment, I don't have plans yet, but I would love to see South America. And Southeast Asia is on my list as well. There's just so much to explore.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable tips with us and with our audience. And I think we really could gain a clear impression of what a work and travel adventure in Australia is like. And Antonia was so friendly to offer answering any of your questions, so please feel free to contact her.
Yes, definitely. I look forward to hearing from you. And as you've seen, I love talking about my stay abroad. So, and Anna, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Antonia, and for your tips and tricks. And to all of our audience and to you, Antonia, have a very lovely day and hear from you soon.
Thanks, you too.